Hello everyone, my name is Luke, and welcome to the 27th battle of the Promethean Directive. Today we have our very first one against event fleets, or at least the combat bounties. Today we've got the combat bounty lost prototypes, consisting of three Stahlgriff Chevny DEM tanks. These were prototypes that kind of went AWOL with their AI, and now Stahlgriff is hiring people to hunt them down. And two nations have answered. The Sephyr Empire and Silver Drive have worked together to send their two IAD and Helicopter Fleet 1 and Bomber Fleet 0, respectively. Combined, these add up to about $1 million in cost, while the three tanks are about 50% more than that. On the Sephyr side, they're led by General Marcus Valerian, with officers Eric Rook, Vanessa Thorne, Darius Quinn, Lyra Stern, and Roland Kane. Silver Drive have no listed commanders, which is cringe. Anyways, these are the tanks. They got some nice add-on armor. Very large fellas. Definitely got to struggle to go over mud, but in this case they work well. Looks like they've got pack anti-aircraft and a very large main gun. Over here are the aircraft of the Silver Drive. 5 helicopters, 3 jets, one of whom is being fancy. And then a bunch of tanks. I couldn't even list all the names if I wanted to right now. But that's the forces involved, so let's see how they fight. Unpausing now. And yes, I did spawn the tanks higher than I should have on accident, but oh well. We've already got tracers lancing out towards the aircraft, and some packs firing at these tanks here, which are firing their own cannons and missiles in response. If you want to see the battle layout, this is kind of what it's looking like. I did spawn the prototypes on the player faction. Oh, looks like 2 helicopters have already collided with each other. Which, I mean, that's FTD for you. Even if you make a spawn stick to spawn them the way you want them, they will still do cringe. Yeah, this big helicopter's kind of bullying the small guy. Unless, I mean, it may have just gotten shot by the pack or something, or the cannons. This plane here is also not doing so hot. Oh goodness, it is already toast. I love fire on aircraft, it just looks so good to see them suffer. Okay, yeah, that jet's almost certainly done for. This guy here is closed in for his attack run. Ooh, that's a cool, I think, laser designator it's got. That's a really nice deco work to make it a custom kind of spherical projector like that. Checking out the tanks now. I'll just fix onto this guy. It's always good to not see any pings in the battle filming VC, meaning I haven't messed anything up too badly. This is a chonky lad. And he is trying to shoot that fighter with its main gun. I don't know how well that'll work for it. These jerry cans here are on fire, which is, yeah, probably why you're not supposed to store fuel outside your tanks like that, but I think this guy's big enough to handle it. Moving over to these two, so it looks like that guy is engaging more of the planes, while these two are focusing quite heavily on the nearby tanks and armored personnel carriers and stuff like that. Most of them are still doing good. Looks like some have obviously taken damage. And those shells are definitely going to hurt. I mean, that's 2 wheels right there, and I know wheels cost or have a lot of material strength. Sephyr did deploy camo specifically for this battle, so I'm glad it matches the terrain. Even if this, I think that's an APC, is not doing so hot for it. You know, at least it didn't get T90'd with the turret flying all the way up. It just fell off. Nothing too bad. The attack helicopters seem to be doing fairly well still, even if they are going to be eating some close range packs. It looks like the tanks do have some kind of missiles on them. I didn't see those earlier. I'm not sure this is the angle helicopters are meant to be at. I think we're almost to the angle helicopters are meant to be at. Let's see how this guy's doing. Mostly probably aesthetic damage so far. I'm going to check the cost before someone pings me about it. The tanks are still at 98 or 99% health, whereas a variety of vehicles have taken very bad damage, but most are still full health. I'm not sure that the attackers have anything that can actually bust through the armor of these guys. They are probably very well defended. A lot of heavy armor, a lot of metal. Yeah, this is going to be tough to get through. And the attackers are definitely outcosted by the defenders, but they do have the advantage of being multiple vehicles and being able to flank a small number of bigger tanks. But they're also a lot more vulnerable to getting one-tapped. Especially if they ram their opponents. Oh, FTD. These are some aggressive IFVs. Or I think they are. Good to see you aren't exporting your tank manufacturing. I don't know what the China of this world would be. Honestly, probably ITN, if anyone. Because they've just got the most land, even if they don't have too many people. I guess they probably have a decent number of people, even if they are pretty Arctic in climate. Trying to think. Honestly, Sephyr might be able to support a larger population than most, because they've got a lot of land in a good climate. So maybe it's made in Sephyr, where Sephyr is the China. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who has the who is likely to have the best manufacturing hub. ITN does have a fairly good economy. So does Remnant, but I doubt they're doing much for civilian goods. So far I do pretty much all the battles in clear weather, but I might do rain on occasion if suggested. I think someone actually suggested that for a previous battle and I just totally forgot. But yep, it looks like the attackers are not doing so hot. These tanks are doing very well. 97, 98, 96. Now the good thing, I suppose, is that these tanks won't be able... I'm not planning on having them able to repair between turns, so any damage dealt is damage that will be repeated should they engage in battle again. Looks like a little bit of track damage, some random chunking of the outside armor. Yeah, they're getting through more than I kind of expected them to. I don't know if anything will happen, though, until one of these turrets gets, like, popped or something. Because otherwise it's pretty insignificant damage. You can try. I believe in you. I no longer believe in you. Seems like you were worrying unnecessarily, Florian. These tanks are absolutely demolishing. Yikes. Getting an AI check. We're at 96 and then two 97s. It looks like... nice AI names. I think... yeah, all 5 helicopters are still active. 2 planes are active, but I think the 3rd plane's been shot down. Some of the helos are pretty damaged, though. And the tanks have probably been at least half killed outright or disabled. These tanks are pretty strong. Yeah, nukes would have been pretty effective here. I don't know how much small vehicles will do. Yeah, air support, it's still active, probably. There's 1 helicopter, there's the other 4 aircraft. 5. Looks like they've mostly gotten outside of the battle against those 2 tanks and are kind of fighting this one, together with a single lost wheeled tank of some kind. The Warrior 30. Which I feel like is a BMP or an IFV or something like that. This tank here is taking decent damage, but it has very thick heavy armor. Ah, okay. That's where the missiles are coming from. And I think its pack may be disabled, I'm not sure. I should probably just stick my camera to this. It at least is not moving on its own, but I don't know if it did that before. Depending on how the battles go, it's possible that the aircraft may be able to almost win by themselves if they're able to kind of isolate their fights. But a lot of them have taken serious damage, as indicated by the fact that this guy here is maneuvering in ways typically unsafe for helicopters to use. Oh, I do like the custom mini missile decorations. Yeah, I think these things, you really need bombs to damage or tanks this big. I don't think the tiny APS are doing much, same with fairly small missiles. Speaking of health again, still at 96 and 297. I think it was actually 296s and a 97, so these guys are repairing a little bit. Let me get an interior check on one of these guys. See what all is cooking under the hood. Pretty big railgun. Yeah, the pack's been disabled on this fella. Miscellaneous armor and fuel above the track. So those could maybe be damaged and set on fire. Might be able to do some serious stuff. And then the main core of this thing is all together. So if you get into that core, then you can take it out pretty easily. And a lot of engine power, probably just for the main gun. And all the wheels. And then some missiles and some interceptors. It's possible I should have nerfed the armor on this guy a little bit, or had Florian do that. But because it is a bounty, they are definitely allowed to break the rules. And I don't think this is too unfair. I am trying to see if there are repair bots. I know that there have to be, because these things are repairing some, but I'm not sure where they'd be at. I don't know. But yep, that's a look at this guy's innards. We can go ahead and check out the tactical map here. So there are, yeah, 2 tanks together fighting the tanks, and then 1 tank gone off on its own to fight the aircraft. And down to 95, 97, 97. So the aircraft are doing a better job against their 1 tank than the tanks are against their 2. tab. Will that get me there? Kind of. Yeah, these two are definitely just eviscerating these tanks right now. 2 damage. And then 1 definitely out of it helicopter. I think you really need some kind of, maybe, I bet Doom Cramp would do well against these guys. Because they can actually get through the armor. Or some kind of railgun of your own. Or just like large missiles, large bombs. But I do not think that the Swarm is actually the go. Another health check. They've all lost. Well, the one attacked by the planes is losing health still, but the other 2 are pretty solid. Let's get back over to this guy. Mostly just flaking off external armor, but it's getting closer to getting through. No, that armor's still really thick. Goodness. Yeah, I feel like they've got to pop the turret or do something like that if they want a chance. Because the armor's just too thick to get in otherwise. Maybe while the turret's turned they could get in through the top. But that's just not happening here. Another AI check, yeah, still 97 and 94. Of the helicopters, I think we've got 4 left. 2 Comies, 2 Ice Pharaohs. And then 2 out of 3 Long Spurs, both at 100%, so... Yeah, the aircraft are still doing good. We're left to just, I think, 4 tanks left, which is not a lot. Once all the tanks die, we'll see if the planes start suffering any more, or the aircraft. If it seems like we'll be at a stalemate, then we can just consider probably the aircraft to eventually evacuate, but to do some more damage to this tank. And I might use a dice roll or just my best guess for what damage should be done. Because otherwise, I mean, this battle could certainly go on for a long time. The Sephyr army, though, is definitely done for. Tanks that small just do not do well against tanks this big. And I think that is why the bounties give such a high reward, because they're very difficult to beat. Or some of them are anyways. I think the next one will probably be a pushover, but that's because it's designed for a lower meta area. Whereas Florian did a good job making these guys competitive. Something just exploded. Probably one of the small tanks. Yeah, just down to 2 small tanks left. This guy is almost grounding itself out. And it probably will before too long. With what this terrain is like. Goodness, those missiles are remarkably effective at just drilling holes. I did not expect that. But this thing's a bunch of wedges and a bunch of beams. I think it goes like wedge, beam, some wedges, some beams. And I wonder if these helicopters are, if this helicopter is damaged and lost altitude, or if it's a altitude settings issue. Probably due to damage, given the blades aren't spinning anymore. These 2 attack helicopters are still doing well, though, even if they're using trim I personally wouldn't suggest. Yeah, if that helicopter's able to keep its angle, it'll eventually get through here. It's not too much further to get to the engine. Still a lot, but it's conceivable they could damage that. Okay, once these tanks take out that last warrior, I'll just despawn these and consider them left at 97%. And then we'll see how the helicopters keep doing against this guy. If they take it out, it's done for. If they get taken out, they're done for. Otherwise, we'll guess a little bit of damage to each side and call it there. Now, this thing may have also been detection stripped, at least to some extent. I know the pack is certainly not aiming accurately, but the cannon might still be. Missiles still doing their best. No, the missiles can definitely hit even if the main vehicle's detection is toast. I'm gonna guess that Tachyon put rubber on these legs, which was definitely a good idea. It's also possible that EMP could maybe get in here eventually, but I know it's got some EMP protection. I think the terrain's kind of messing with the laser designators on that plane too, or it could just be their movement, because those bombs are not hitting as much as they probably should be. Maybe they'll recover now they've got designator again. Kind of. Any other fun comments in the chat? Oh, this thing? Yeah, I definitely lost a lot of its barrel. I don't know how far it extends into here. Looks like it goes about to the end of that heavy armor deco section. Last I checked, this is not the preferred orientation of helicopters. But it may be like the perfect site to fire missiles from, which is funny. I do think this thing is now grounded out. You can do it, tank. You may not have any guns, and your crew may be mostly dead, but you do fly the flag of the Sephyr Empire proudly. And are you going to try and ram it? I think you're going to try and ram it. And even if you don't try, I think the train's going to make you ram it. Sephyr kamikaze. I don't know how this thing just chunked off some of this guy's armor but took no damage in return. Built different, I guess. Yeah, this vehicle may be damaged enough to call it KIA, because the pack's totally gone, the missiles are almost entirely stripped. The cannon barrel is broken. Detection's probably totally stripped. I think probably all the internals are still intact, but mobility is at least somewhat kill, even if that's just due to the terrain. There's also been a lot of damage, too, based on the new track layout. Yeah, we'll leave it a little bit longer for these helicopters just to keep bullying it. But most likely we'll count it as 1 tank killed, 2 left at pretty high health. Are we going to get any more funny with the collision? I did not expect this much to come from this small of a... This thing's just bullying it. I don't know how. It just keeps bouncing it up and down. Oh yeah, I think it's just managing a couple seconds of traction during which time it rams itself into it. Oh, that may be this thing totaled though. Yep, it's done for. And we're down to just a Comey and a Longspur.
Yes. Turning off. Yes.
Let me turn these guys off, because they're out of range. Whoops.
Yes.
Ah, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. I just want to teleport over here. Yeah, I get that. What? Hello? Okay. So yes, I think we're going to count it here with this guy essentially disabled. I don't think it can do much anymore, so we can just count it as killed. Even if the barrel is somewhat intact, I don't think it's going to be hitting much. I say as it hits the helicopter. Yeah, I do think I'll consider this guy disabled and stuck in place. If the bounty is left for long enough, it might... Ooh. Decent damage there. It might be able to get repaired, but otherwise it's likely considered a effective kill. And I'm going to guess this plane's going to make the decision to flee now that it is alone and eventually going to run out of fuel. So, that's the final count here. 89% on 1. I'll consider this 96 and 97 because that's how low it got down to. With 1 Longspur and 1 Comey escaping at these damages. Okie dokie, thank you for watching the first bounty battle.